All right, so let's talk a little bit. This is a little bonus for all of you. Let's talk about how you can actually get some media attention, some interviews, whether it be broadcast, that would be any type of TV outlet, or radio, which I had shown before. I had shown to you that you can marry to a little video and put it on YouTube, or of course print. Print is great as well. Here's what you got to do. You got to start with some sort of media list. What you have to do is get some media emails and get those addresses all queued up. How can you find some of these? You can go to your local newspaper's website and look at some of the articles for people who have written about something that possibly is your topic. And at the bottom you will notice their email address. So what you want to do is you want to take a lot of those email addresses, put them into Outlook or whatever it is that you use for email, queue them up, get them all ready and lined up so that you can have this when a story comes into your mind or when there's something big in the news that you can speak to. Now, for television, if there's a show that you think you would be good for, you'd like to be on, what you can do is you can call their main line and ask for either a booker or a segment producer. And those are the titles of the people who would decide if it would be okay to have you on. So you want to start building your media Rolodex. You can purchase some of these Rolodexes, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but you can hunt around the internet or make phone calls, like I said, and at least get started with a few of the email addresses and phone numbers that you need. You can call the main line. So the next thing you need to do is you need to email the media. You could send them something through snail mail, but it's better to email them. So this is an actual email that I had back when I was a TV producer. I have changed the names to protect the innocent. So that is not really Jane Smith. But I kept the main parts. Most of the emails people send make absolutely no sense. It's all mixed in. Think about your own email. There's spam and newsletters and all sorts of junk. Internal email if you're at work coming at you. So it's hard to tell what is a pitch, a story idea. By the way, the people who are reporters, bookers, or segment producers for TV, same title for radio, or maybe you could look up program director. That's the boss essentially of a lot of these people. These people get all of those emails, but they also get pitches, and they want pitch emails from people. So let's take a look at what we have on the screen here. What you see is the U.S. headed for a similar merger with Canada and Mexico? This is an actual pitch I got. And of course, like you, my thought was, similar to what? I have no idea what they're talking about. And as I read, the outcome of the last round of EU negotiations, not something that was on my radar. I was working on a morning show, but I didn't do international segments. It just wasn't what I did. Since a bad precedent for those who opposed George Bush's dream merger of the United States with Mexico and Canada, says controversial author Jerry Corsi. His new book. They're getting into it. I don't even know what the story would be that I'd be preventing. It's a little cluttered, a little confusing, a little convoluted. I'm going to show you one that's better than that. This is an actual email I sent out for a friend of mine, and this guy is also a Guinness record holder. He is one of these memory experts. So in it, I do something called above the line and below the line. So above the line, you'll see here it says, Mark, I think this guy would be great for your show, great for you. He's a world record-setting expert. He could give your listeners tips on how to remember where you put your keys, to how memory tips can help you keep your job in an up or down economy. In the first couple of sentences, I gave the idea. It sounds like a headline. It sounds like something that people might actually want to read themselves or watch or whatever it is, whatever medium we're sending it to. You want to put those types of things above the line and end with a yes or no question. Any interest? That's a yes or no question. This means the obligation is just for a yes or no answer. If it's too convoluted and goes on and on and on, people will just hit delete. All right? And notice the subject line. RE in reference to, thought this memory expert would be good radio, so we were sending this to radio. And then below the line, all of just the basic info of who he is, bullet points of what he would say. We sent this out, and I sent it to my list of radio program directors. Those are the bosses, meaning this is kind of my secret technique. If somebody is the boss and they receive something that they think is, pretty good or whatever, and they email it to someone else who works for them, and they write, and this was my experience when I was a TV producer, and they say, maybe you'd like this for your show. The person on the receiving end reads that email and says, maybe. It must mean I must do it. I swear this happens. And they would just go do it all the time. So this worked out really well that we sent it, and we sent it in this particular format, and we were able to get 8 or 12 for this round of that many interviews. So it was pretty good. All right, let's focus in even further. So I'm telling you how you can pitch the media, what the formatting is, what works. Subject line. Oh, this was when Tiger Woods, messed up and wasn't being faithful to his wife and had a meltdown and all that. As a communication consultant, people wanted to talk to me about it. So in reference to subject line, available for Tiger Woods story. So we know it's a story. We know someone is available. Point of view below. That means we're going to find out what this person, Jess, says. So you want to address these to the actual person. There are ways to automate it. You can do something called mail merge through Outlook, and that will automatically go into your address book and put their name. This guy, Chuck Schaefer at NBC, he always went by the name Schaefer. So I made sure that it was in the queue to automatically put his name. Notice this is the line, this is the above the line, this is the below the line. Do you need someone to talk about Tiger Woods today or tomorrow? Jess, it's a yes or no question. And it gets to the point. P.S. Full info and point of view, bullet points below. There you go. And then below, available for Tiger Woods interviews or quotes. So they were looking for people. They needed people. Can talk about what Tiger Woods needs to say, what he probably will say, and the impact on the business of Tiger Woods. So, and then so a little bit, this is Jesse's a media and communication consultant, a little link to my bio. This is a very important section, the section I call the point of view section. Jess Todfeld can say, and then just bullet points. He'll say this, he should say that, or excuse me, it's me saying what Tiger Woods should say, but it was the point of view of what the guest or the person that would be interviewed, you, would say to the reporter. Very important. In pitch meetings, this is how it goes. Somebody receives this. They print it out. They go into a pitch meeting. They say, yeah, there's a guy and he can talk about the story of the day, in this case Tiger Woods, and I think he'd be pretty good. He's a communication consultant. And the person who's the executive producer or the boss says, what will he say? And usually the person who's pitching it says, I don't really see it here. I have no idea at all. And we don't want that. That's when these stories get killed. So you want to have a point of view in this section. When I did this, I got about 5 or 6 interviews, one of them being ABC Channel 7, WABC here in New York, and but one of them was the Associated Press Television. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, and I know it's a news service. They syndicate to outlets around the country. But I stopped in, they asked me a few questions, and went on my way. I had people the next day calling me from Florida, from excuse me, from, thankfully I didn't do that during the live interview. Florida, Colorado, somebody in California. They wrote to me an email and said, I just saw you on the morning news. Are you in town? And I said, no. And I was trying to figure, what are they talking about? But it dawned on me that they were talking about the Associated Press interview. So that's something I keep in the old Rolodex and keep it ready so that I can do something big. Here's another email. This was actually from the Guinness record push. At the time I was promoting a book on public speaking and presentation skills. Probably not the biggest grabber you'd think for media attention, but I said, no, the topics will and can include the best way to present yourself in a job interview, present yourself at work, present yourself when networking, President Obama's speaking style, analysis of celebrities and world leaders. So essentially, my bullet points were giving them a list of topics that they can choose. And we sent this out. We said, we're talking to all these stations. At this point, we had 70 stations who were saying yes, and we got to get past 72. So some people saw the novelty in that. Anything you can do to excite them and get them to choose you is what you want to work, and especially giving them multiple choices for stories. That is something that is great, and obviously worked in this situation because we did 112. And I say we because I was promoting a book with a co-author, and we did the interviews together. Okay, let's see. Subject line: hospitals save money you might pay with your life. Notice that that's pretty inflammatory. This was an anesthesiologist who basically said when anesthesiologists in hospitals don't use brain monitors, they stick these little things in your head, that you could die. And it was a big story, and so just hi, first name of the producer, whoever it is. Would the story below work for you? I use this all the time. Notice I'm helping you to make this all short and sweet and simple. Would the story below work for you, Jess? Your name would be there. And how can you look at this and not be tempted to look down below the line? In this case, the line has the contact information in between. And as it continues here, we have a headline. So you want a headline that is essentially something that sounds like a newspaper headline, like hospitals save money you might pay with your life. Put that right here. The subheadline: anesthesiologist says hospitals try to save $20 and it's a gamble they shouldn't be taking. Something like that. And essentially these little suction cup things cost $20, and the hospitals want to save money. So if you or anybody you know is getting an operation or something like that, talk to your anesthesiologist in advance. This is how I give back, by the way. And say that you need to have a brain monitor because the anesthesia is they're sedating your brain. Although they're checking your breathing and your heart rate, they should be checking your brain too. That's what this guy says. Anyway, we put the bullet points here. It worked really well. He got a whole bunch of great press out of it. That is basically the template. So you can go out and do that. That's my gift to you right now. You can go out and do that. You want to get the most out of your exposure. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about media training. 1960s media training techniques no longer work. A lot of people always say, well, in the Nixon-Kennedy debates, that was nice. That was the 1960s. That was 52 years ago. Or more than that if you're listening to this after this recording. So there are a few things that you can do to make yourself look and sound better. So one of them would be write out the answers that you wish, not the questions, that you wish you could deliver. Write out a sheet. So this is the abbreviated version of my messaging technique. Write out the answers and look at it and say, holy cow, if I just said half of these things, I would be amazed. Most people just say, I'm going to go in and just talk. That's like a marathon runner saying, I know how to run. You put one foot in front of the other. I don't need to practice. So what you do is you look at these answers and you practice with it. The best way to practice is with a video camera, and then you can play it back, and you do that a few times and you'll get better and better. Okay, so you want to have some of those. I'm going to give you a little case study here, a little story about something that I did publicity-wise. When New York Congressman Anthony Weiner decided to take his cell phone and become, well, an internet photographer. Uh, Not a good career move for him, by the way. For him, that equaled disaster, but for me, opportunity, career opportunity. So what I want you to do is I want you to be on the lookout for stories that you could speak to. So you can pitch stories that you think would be great because it matches what you do and talk about, but you can also attach yourself to stories that are in the news. So actually, when this thing came out, I thought about, do I want to go out there and say, well, as a communication consultant, I would advise him to do this, or here's where I see this going. And I thought, I don't know if I want anything to do with this. But the more I thought about it, I said, it could be a good case study. It's probably a no-brainer. Everybody was so excited about the story. So what I did was I sent this email. Hi, first name. By the way, here's the subject line. Wiener Fallout. Available. Media consultant. All in the subject line. They know who it is, what the story is, and the fact that someone's available. Hi, Mike. If you're looking for a media consultant to provide quotes on the Representative Wiener story, let me know. Here are a few things I can say. And they were bullet points of my exact answers. His pun-laced interviews, this was prior to him stepping down. His pun-laced interviews prior to the apology, it shows that he lacks true understanding of right and wrong, and da-da-da. This is just a page out of Tiger Woods' playbook. So you want to be as exciting and playful as you can. Obviously, make sure if you have a serious subject, not to be too playful. But you want to put in some real good answers. Some of them you wrote down, some of them in that drill you wrote down, but some of them you really punched up to make even more exciting here. Can he, by the way, this one worked out very well for me. Can he repair his image? Well, he can never truly get past this story. He has mortally wounded his political career. This is before he stepped down, so he stepped down after that. But that doesn't mean he can't star in a reality show or host a program on CNN. Now, this has a number of soundbite elements. So it's a little bit of humor. That's one of the soundbite elements, something that makes a great soundbite. Pop culture reference. I brought up reality shows. The fact that the people like this, they go from a scandal to a reality show. Think Rod Blagojevich and his wife. He tried to get on the show, and then he was a part of one show, and he wasn't a part of another show. Pop culture reference and kind of a little attack of sorts, humorous attack, saying he could host a program on CNN because they had hired Elliot Spitzer, who also a fallen New York politician who ended up getting a TV show. This one little answer here got me a ridiculous amount of press. And I sent it out. The Washington Post, they liked it. They were excited about it. Then the Washington Times picked it up. Then I was picked up by the Philadelphia Inquirer. Then about 15 other papers. This is the beauty. And I sent it to a list of about 2,000 newspapers that I have nationwide. The Philadelphia Inquirer is one of these papers where they syndicate to other papers. So about 15 other papers instantly had me in there. And it was beautiful. And that included, well, actually, I'm not 100% sure how it made its way, or if it was on my email list, but it made its way to Forbes.com, and that was great. The Vancouver Sun picked it up, and they were part of the whole thing with the Philadelphia Inquirer. The Financial Times decided to do a story. The Atlantic, Dallas News, a number of these outlets put it in there, and my last count that I had was, I think it was about 45 different print outlets. And by the way, I only sent it to print for this particular situation. I was busy that week. I was traveling for business. I said, you know what? I'm going to send out one email. And I sent out one email, and I got that first 4 plus 15. And then I said, gee, maybe I should send an email out saying, hey, I hope you saw this, because there are some outlets, some people who just didn't see the email. And that's when the rest of it just kicked in. Kind of a funny thing. the Washington Post. I was in there 3 times for this story. One of the writers did a story saying, you know, some of these people, they send out an email and they put in all these answers, and some of these other outlets are printing this guy's answers verbatim. So he was upset that people liked my pitch so much that they were putting the answers in. And as he's upset about it, he printed all my answers. I don't get it. And they also mentioned Jess Todfield is a New York City-based media consultant. How great is that? But it gets better. And this is the value of you doing press and getting some press, besides the extra credibility for your website. But when I was in the Washington Post, they put a little quote and led in that story where the guy wasn't as nice to me. The only person who was offended was my wife. I was happy because he led with this. Jess Todfield is a media training expert who's based in New York, and you're not going to believe what happened, blah, blah, blah. Anytime I ever put out a press release, do a speech and give an intro to somebody, guess what it says in there from now on? It says, the man that the Washington Post called a media training expert. How great is that? If you do a few interviews, somebody will say something great to you, about you. When I was a producer, I had a guy who wrote a book about ghostwriting, and he called himself the ghostwriting, I called him the ghostwriting guru in the introduction because, you know, it had a nice alliteration, it sounded good, and forever he said, the man that Fox TV calls the ghostwriting guru. So not too shabby. The Washington Times, they said the public relation mavens weigh in. Jess Todfield says, so now if I'm in front of a specific group, I will say the man the Washington Times is called a public relation maven. So you can use this and put it back into your marketing. Some really great stuff. So where do we start for some of this? Well, you need to have some sort of a media list. You need to figure out how to build a list. I do have a list, and if you want to purchase my list, I'll tell you what I have in there. Print contacts, almost 3,000 print contacts. So I said I sent it out to 2,000 print outlets across the country. I guess it's closer to 3,000 on there. And basically, I have this set and ready to go. I have a special program that's even better than Outlook that is very inexpensive on the internet. It's similar to Constant Contact that I use, but it's a little bit better. It gets through, and it doesn't have all of the markings of it being some sort of bigger mass email. National television, you want to be able to pitch the Today Show, Good Morning America, The View, a lot of the big national shows. This list of just about 1,000 outlets has those on there as well. National talk show radio program directors. So those are the bosses that I told you about. This is how I set the Guinness record. This is my actual Guinness record Rolodex of 1,700 contacts. And we just updated all of this stuff just recently over the summer, and periodically I go in there and update it so that so people are getting something fresh. The radio list, if you follow the steps that I have, you should be able to get on radio. And then I just have a mixed group of about another 1,700 contacts altogether. So about 7,000 plus contacts when you look at it. And I don't just blast this out to everybody all at once. I decide, do I want to send it to some pieces of the list? Do I want to just send it to print? I'm going to be busy. I don't want to be bothered. At the end of the year, of every year, I do something called my annual media winners and losers list. For whatever reason, radio people love it, so I just send it to the radio list. This is what I call a great start, as you see on here, all of these contacts. So you need to have your media list queued and ready to go. If you purchase this somewhere else, you're basically talking about spending $3,500 to $5,000. That is a lot. These are contacts that I've been able to pull from a number of different sources, and a lot of it I pretty much built myself, or my team that works with me built it. And what I have come up with here, let's see if I could just bring it up. There's a special. You can get these from me for $497, but if I only gave you the Rolodex, or contact list here. It's not in a Rolodex form. It's in a computer CSV file, which means that you can upload it into Outlook or Constant Contact or any of these email programs. But if I just gave that to you, you really wouldn't be able to do everything that you need to do. So I have a kit that I am very proud of. By the way, I should mention, that's right, this $497. If you go to my website, if you go to the site, prmarketinginsider.com, you'll see all the information about it. I sell all of this for twice that, for $997. And actually, each of the pieces are usually separate, but there's a special on there, $997. But for the people who are watching this webinar today, I'm giving it to you, if you want, for $497. Today only, or when you're watching this, but that deal will go away, and the link that I have set up will also go away, so you may want to check it out. I have a kit with DVDs and audios, but they're essentially 2 DVDs. This is a big binder with 9 discs in it. There are 2 DVDs in there. How to pitch the media. It's me explaining exactly for about a half an hour, 45 minutes, exactly what you have to do. I go in depth with those emails. I explain what they're looking for, how they think, all the ins and outs. That will really get you started. And then there's another one where I break down what I did with that Guinness record interview and just talk a little bit more about how pitching is done in the 21st century, because some people who do this for a living sometimes are kind of stuck in some of the old ways, and from all the great PR people I've talked to, they are usually willing to up the ante and make themselves a little bit better. Also, there are a whole bunch of CDs in these kits, or this kit that I have here. So I've actually interviewed a cable news producer that you see on the first one there. I talked to her for an hour. What do cable news producers want? What is their day like? What are they thinking? What do they need? That's on there. An experienced public relations executive for about 30 years. He really talks about how he's able to get stories into the New York Times, into USA Today, how he thinks of story ideas. This guy's amazing. Bruce Bobbins is his name. And a media training primer. Basically, I took an hour here and I go through what it is that you would do in an interview so that you can feel more comfortable, but look more confident and together and all of that. So that is great. And there are a bunch of other CDs that are, I think, equally as important. But all of these are really bonus. If you just watch that DVD, and there's one other one I'll tell you about in a moment, then you'll really be in great shape. So that is the Pitching the Media Kit, the ultimate insider roadmap for pitching the media. With that is, let's see here, so that is included with the Rolodex, all right? And that in itself is $1,000 value, and I've sold it in the past, just the DVD and CD sets for $1,000, but I'm going to throw it in here. And you'll see that's the red binder. I'm also throwing in my gold binder, which has a whole bunch of other CDs and an important DVD. This is actually a 40-minute DVD where I talk about actual pitches, like some of the ones that you saw there, but more, that work and ones that don't work. And sometimes watching the ones that don't work are even more helpful, because you look at it and say, wow, I can't believe people are really sending these things to the media and thinking that it makes sense. So I'm able to focus you in on what it is that you need to do to, be able to connect. So this one I'm pretty proud of. If you watch this one and the Pitching the Media DVD, you can just get started in a very short amount of time. You could sit back, watch it on your television. You could watch it on your computer too, and know what you need to do. But again, I did audio interviews with a lot of people who I'm pretty proud about. Good Morning America producer. If it's your dream to get on Good Morning America, now you can find out how to do it. This guy has been in television for probably about 25 years, and he was just a terrific guy. Dennis Murray is his name, and I talked to him for an hour about what works, what doesn't work, and he was really great to share. This is Breaking Through in Radio. Some of these talk about how do you sell in interviews. One step is to get the interview. Step two is how can you make it so compelling that people want to get what you have. So that's something that comes up often in a lot of these CDs. And you see some of the other ones here. This one I'm proud of, CDs. Sell massive amounts of products during interviews. And this was that memory expert guy. He's just great at being able to do it. If you ever had dreams of being on a reality show, well, now you can do it. We have an interview with somebody from The Apprentice, Stacy Schneider. She wrote a book called He Had It Coming. She's a divorce attorney, so you can guess what that's all about. And she talks about how she leveraged being on the show, and she was voted out, I think, second, or you're fired. She was fired second, and somehow this thing took on a life of its own after the show. She got a book deal. She can get on cable news anytime she wants. She's been on Larry King probably close to 100 times. And, of course, Court TV, which is now True TV, Nancy Grace, and a lot of those shows. This is all part of the second binder. So this is also, I'm going to include another 9 discs. So that's 18 discs. You really, as long as you watch 2 of them, you're going to be great and be able to get started. That second binder is at a $1,000 value. And, again, I'm really proud of what's in there. And all 3 of them, these 3 things, the Rolodex, the 2 binders with all the instructional pieces with it, the 7,000 contacts, those 2 box sets, like I said, which are 3 DVDs and 15 CDs, that's a $3,000 value of what it is that I'm giving to you. You're not going to see anything out there that's quite like this. Today, if you go on my website, it's $997. It's $497. So essentially, half price. So if you are interested in this, if you think that it would help you to have these tools to be able to get media attention, go out and do it. You can try any of the techniques I talked about earlier about going out and getting one of these little cameras, using your webcam, being able to connect with people, do it yourself, get it up there on YouTube. You can do that. But if you decide that you want to take it to the next level and go out and try being in front of the media, you may want to get this kit. So, prsecretweapon.com/half. That's as in half price. prsecretweapon.com/half. I'm going to keep it up there for probably about a day, and then it goes away. If you're watching this afterwards, you can email me if you want, jess@successinmedia.com, but we're keeping it to a special promotion that we're doing right now. So check out prsecretweapon.com/half, and you can get the red kit, the gold kit, and my Rolodex, this is the actual list that I use, my entire contact list. Also, just as a last thing here, if you're thinking about working with the media and you want somebody who can help you with the media plan, we can train you. You could be part of a workshop. We can train your staff if you have staff and PR techniques. I actually have been helping people to create information products out there. So if you say, I like it, but I need help, what I would do is connect you with the video producer who works with me on projects that are bigger than me just recording this here, which I tried to make look a little bit nicer for all of you. But I would connect you with him, and I would probably be a part of it as a producer. Or maybe you want to do a YouTube series where you're standing in front of a pretty background, and we do that. So I can help you create information products as well. Success in Media is my website, and I hope if you get anything from what you're seeing today, I'm trying to punch up something pretty as we end here. On the air. I hope that if you do anything, you go out there and you try something. Use video to make you and your business even better. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking time out and listening and making it to the end. In fact, it would really entertain me if you wrote an email to me, jess@successinmedia.com, and said, I made it to the end, and tell me what you liked about this. Tell me if there's anything that you thought wasn't good and you didn't like. I would love to get that feedback as well. I'm always trying to make myself better. So, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you want to get that kit, reach out to me. And I hope to see you on YouTube and see you taking over the world. I'm Jess Todfeld. I appreciate you taking time out. I'll see you next time.